everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Drawing with DJ. And if I'm right, this video should be coming out around the time of Christmas. A time to eat, be thankful, and most importantly, spend time with your family. And one of the most famous families in all of comic book history is Marvel's Fantastic Four, who I'm combining with DC's Outsiders. Steelman was working at his Laboratory of Solitude near the North Pole. He was using his advanced telescope to search the cosmos for any remnants of his people, the Starktonians. In his search, he found a comet, but something was off about it. It was emitting a form of radiation he had never seen before, so he contacted his best friend, Captain Bat, to take a look at it. Alright, you see, the comet itself is not going to hit Earth, but this radiation here might. What we need is a team to go study it and assess the danger. Now, I'm too busy with New Metro, and I know you're busy with Queenum, but I was wondering if you knew anyone who could fit the bill. Tony explained. I believe I just might. Bruce Rogers contacted the most skilled scientist at Rogers Tech, Dr. Rex Richards. Dr. Richards, I'm glad you can make it. I'm here to recruit you for a special mission. An asteroid has been spotted by an associate of mine, and it appears to be emitting an unusual form of radiation. He handed Rex copies of Steelman's findings. Yes, quite intriguing, Mr. Rogers, but I do have to say, what does this mission entail for me? You and the rest of the crew will be sent into space to study the asteroid's radiation, and preferably collect a sample of it to bring back to Earth and study its composition. And who will the rest of this crew be? You're the first person I've recruited. Actually, I still need a pilot, a geologist, and someone for defense. Defense from what exactly? Little green men? If you'd seen half the things I'd have, you'd rather be safe than sorry. Well, I may know just the right people. 2 weeks later, Richards returned with his crew. Alright, Mr. Rogers, first off we have my fiancée, Tatsu Storm. I know you wanted someone capable of defending the crew from unplanned visitors, but I figured using ranged weapons comes with the risk of damaging the ship, hence her Soul Taker sword. She's actually worked with me before as a bodyguard. Her work is very impressive. Next up we have Tatsu's brother Jefferson. He's an advanced placements physics teacher at Glenville High and has his commercial driver's license. I assume he'll be our pilot. And for our geologist, may I introduce you to my best friend, Benjamin Markov, the Prince of Markovia. I remember hearing about what you two did back in Markovia. These are all very astounding choices, Dr. Richards, but I can't help but notice you've only chosen your close friends and family. Bruce looked out the window onto Crime Alley, and the echoes of the past sent shivers down his spine. I would do the same if I could. You're all hired, and have 2 weeks to prepare. Alright, so this video is going to be a little bit different, if you can't tell from my other videos. Instead of like 4 individual backstories or one continuous story with different spotlights on each character, this is just going to be one big combined backstory for all 4 characters. It's kind of split up into 4 parts, you know. Yeah, the biggest reason I'm doing this is because the Fantastic Four, if you didn't know, they all get their powers at the same time. You know, if you know the story, you know it. If you don't, I'll be telling basically a version of it in this video, so don't worry. Also, I hope you like these little symbols I have, you know, for characters from previous videos. So even if you haven't seen the previous videos, you can still probably guess, you know, who these characters are supposed to be. But still go watch the videos anyway, please, please, please. Speaking of story, some of you might be wondering why I'm featuring Captain Bat so much in this. It's because, while Captain America's not really a Fantastic Four member, Batman was one of the original members of the Outsiders. So I think it'd feel wrong to not include him in the story in some capacity. You know, even if he's in this version he's not a member of it, but I like to have him involved with it, you know. And continuing with talking about the story, if you can tell already, these stories are going to be a little shorter than the other ones. You know, I just want to get these videos out. Not to say I'm not going to put more care into the stories. You know, I'm trying to go with a more quality over quantity. But yeah, basically the story's going to be shorter. Although I think all the other stories are going to be a little longer than this one, but still not as long as my first few videos, you know. And art-wise, I don't really have too much to say. It was a pretty simple design. I basically just made Metamorpho, but gave him a little bit of a Fantastic Four style uniform. But instead of a 4, it's an O for Outrageous Outsiders, which is the name of the team. Spoilers. But yeah, not too much to say. It's not my favorite of the video. It was like the, first one of the videos, the first drawing I'd done in a while. So there's some things I think I could have done better, like the purple club hand felt like it's kind of boring, a little too round. I should have roughed it up a little bit. It also gave him like Reed Richards' like iconic hair with like the white bits. I forgot exactly what they're called. And also, if you couldn't tell, originally his face was kind of messed up. Kind of looks like a bootleg. What was it? Mascot horror. I ended up going back and fixing that. But yeah, with that we have Dr. Rex Richards, also known as Mr. Metamorphic. It was finally launch day at Bruce Rogers' secret launch base. They made their way to the rocket in matching uniforms. "I can't wait to tell my students about this," Jefferson remarked. "Remember, Jeff, this is a classified mission," Tatsu replied. "Well, whenever this whole thing gets declassified. Also, it is highly improbable that they would even believe you in the first place," Rex added. "Would I tell them that I at least got to meet royalty?" "I can vouch for you, Mr. Storm." "Thank you, Your Highness." "Oh, please, you can call me Benjamin." The four of them hopped on an elevator and made their way to the ship's cockpit. After they all fastened their seatbelts, the countdown began.
"All right, in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
As the ship made its way through Earth's atmosphere, stars began to emerge while the sky transitioned from a soft blue into a vast void. Once they had left Earth's atmosphere, Rex enabled artificial gravity and introduced everyone to the robot assistant, Halo, the humanoid assistant launch operator. "All right, everyone. We should arrive at the asteroid in approximately 1 week. Until then, we make sure the ship keeps on running." After 7 days, they had finally arrived. Rex monitored the rock's radiation levels. Tatsu controlled the ship's radiation shielding. Jefferson monitored the power levels, and Benjamin managed the drill. After the drill penetrated the asteroid's crust, the radiation spiked. "Tatsu, we need to maximize radiation shielding," Rex yelled. "Jeff, we need more power to shields," Tatsu cried. Ben, hurry up with that sample," Jefferson suggested.
"Rex, is this even safe to bring on board?"
Ben inquired. "I feel like it's a little bit too late to be asking that now, Ben." After sealing the sample into a radiation-proof container, Rex tried taking it to the onboard lab, but on the way there, part of the asteroid broke off and hit the ship. Jeff fell into the power control panel, accidentally doubling the ship's artificial gravity. The samples container then fell into the floor and broke. "Alright, nobody panic. Jeff, convert all non-essential power to thrusters. Halo, take us back to Earth as fast as possible."
"But Dr. Richards, the resulting..."
"I was not asking."
"Halo, take us home, please," Benjamin asked.
The resulting G-forces caused the four of them to go unconscious. The first to wake up was Tatsu. She noticed that her arms were missing and began to panic. Her panicking woke up her brother, who had electricity arcing from his skin. Ben woke up next, with his skin hardened into orange stones. Ben went to wake up Rex, but only found a puddle of goo in his uniform. The puddle began to solidify in the shape of Rex's face and asked, "Did we make it?"
"We have arrived on Latveria, Earth,"
Halo answered. So, not really much to say about this part of the story. It's basically mostly the Fantastic Fours, going up to the space thing, but instead of just random cosmic rays, it's a meteor because that's how Metamorpho gets his power in the comics, if I remember right. Also, I introduced Halo, the humanoid assistant launch operator. If you know who they're a fusion of, please let me know in the comments. I'm not drawing them in today's video. Sorry for those who want that. I'll draw them at some point, definitely. Maybe, I don't know what for, but I'll definitely do it at some point. Also, I thought it'd be fun to have like the thing that each one of them is doing kind of like correlate to one of their powers, even though I don't think that's how it worked in Fantastic Four. I haven't read the original Fantastic Four, so I don't know 100% sure, but I know. Yeah, because, Tatsu has, like, the shield thing, Ben's, like, doing the meteors, Jeff's working on the power, and then, Rex is running to the lab. And art-wise, this is, like, probably my favorite of the video. I don't know, it's kind of a tough call between this and one of the two later ones. I'll get there when I get there, but yeah, if you've watched my videos before, I'm a sucker. I love doing like things that are partially transparent, like I did with her shield and her leg. Rest of it, the costume too was pretty fun. Just pretty simple and just basically took like one of Katana's comic costumes and just put like replaced some of like the red with blue. You basically gave it the Fantastic Four colors. Even though the mask doesn't really make too much sense, because I think her mask in the original comics is supposed to look like the Japanese flag, white with like a red circle. Yeah, so that didn't really make any sense. But like if I try to make red on the mask, with this design, it wouldn't really match the costume. But aside from that, I think it turned out like pretty great. I loved rendering the mask too. I don't know why, I just have a really fun time rendering metals. We got a lot of we got her like knee pads, like the shoulder pauldron, I think that's what it's called, gauntlet, and her Soul Taker sword here. Overall, it might be actually be my favorite. There's an upcoming one that's kind of close, but I think this one might eke it out a bit. And that we have Tatsu Storm, also known as Invisiblade. The team was promptly surrounded by the Latverian military. Jeff and Ben were captured while Rex, Tatsu, and Halo evaded detection. After being shoved into a van, Jeff asked Ben if he knew where they were.
Jefferson, we are in Latveria, a country neighboring my home of Markovia. We were sworn enemies until the Second World War, where we had allied against the Nazi invaders. Things seemed hopeless until a young prodigy, Victor Dalam, managed to reverse engineer Hydra-grade technology, leveling the playing field. His vital role in our victory helped Victor Dalam quickly raise the role through political ranks. The power would go to his head, leading him to usurping the king. Once in charge, he would arm his troops with weaponry unlike anything we'd ever seen, and invade Markovia.
I remember teaching my students about that back when I taught world history. If I remember right, it was you and some American college student who was studying abroad who were able to invent a device that can exploit a flaw in Dalam's designs. It emitted a signal that it caused the entirety of Latveria's arsenal to overheat, pressuring Dalam into a ceasefire. Is that right?
Yes, but you left out a key detail, that the American scientist was your sister's fiancé.
Oh, Jeff responded. So that's how you two know each other. The vehicle stopped. Jeff and Ben were let out. Jeff was surprised to see a castle instead of any sort of prison. They were in a laboratory, where they met an imposing figure in a green military uniform and a metal mask. He was none other than the man himself, in the flesh, Dr. Victor Dalam, King of Latveria.
The Prince of Markovia crashing a rocket on Latverian soil. A more naive man than I would have used your recklessness as an excuse to avoid the ceasefire. I, on the other hand, am a scientist first and foremost. I would like to know why. Why would you do such a thing? Why is your skin now made of stone? Why does your new American friend have lightning arcing off of his body? Why does the crashed spaceship on my country's soil resemble the work of Rex Richards?
As the military searched the wreckage of the spaceship, they found no more survivors and began hauling away anything they could find, including the meteor sample and Tatsu's Soul Taker. Little did they know, Tatsu, Rex, and Halo escaped into a nearby forest. Rex had adjusted to his new physiology and was repairing Halo. Astounding! It appears as if the radiation from the comet has altered Halo's code. It's like nothing I've ever seen. That's fascinating, Rex, really. But don't you think we should be helping Jeff and Ben? I'm almost finished, Rex replied before shifting his forearm into the shape of a katana. He broke it off and handed it and a tracking device to Tatsu. I know it's no Soul Taker, but I think you should go ahead and find out where Dalam's goons took Ben and your brother. Halo and I will be with you soon. Tatsu went invisible and hitched a ride on a flatbed, hauling part of the ship to Dalam's lab. Once inside, she made her way to a room with her brother, who was bound to some sort of high-tech pod and completely enveloped in blue sparks. She severed the wires connected to the pod before revealing herself. As guards surrounding them, Jeff broke out of his confinements and began shooting bolts of electricity at them. Jeff, help us find Ben. Rex is on the way, Tatsu yelled, before knocking the guards into the wall with a repulsive blast. As you know, I'm not going to spoil who Dr. Victor Dalam's going to be a fusion of, even though I feel like I made it kind of obvious. But anyway, either way, that's kind of a thing I like to do. Have, you in the audience guess who it is in the comments, and I'll give you a shout out. That's the whole thing that I try to do. Yeah, but anyway, some of you who know the characters know that there's some major conflicting parts of their backstories, but on the other hand, they kind of fill like similar roles to each other. You know how like one is for the outsiders and one is for the Fantastic Four, if that makes sense. So hopefully I did decent job of blending their backstories with like kind of ironing out the contradictory parts. If you know, you know. Also, for similar reasons, I'm going to lean more into one character than the other, which kind of makes sense because that character I'm leaning more into is definitely by a wide mile the more popular character. Also, I hope you like the voices I'm doing. Please let me know if any feedback is appreciated. Uh, Markovian's a little tricky to do because it's like I'm pretty 99% sure that's not a real place and just made up by DC Comics. Uh, and also, I don't know why I keep stuck in a Long Island accent. Like there are so many like unused takes where I just slip into Australian somehow. I don't even know how that happened. Uh, but yeah, art-wise, I think this might be the fastest or one of the fastest ones I've ever done. Like normally in this little speed draw section, I have it played at like somewhere between 30 to 50 times speed. This one's on, I feel like 15 times speed, I believe. That's how fast I did it. Basically, mostly because there's like no shading really. I just did a little like hatching, kind of like in the OG Johnny Storm. Human Torch, I was red with black hatching, but I made him black with blue hatching. Uh, Blue because Black Lightning has like a blue color thing. Uh, Other than that, yeah, not really much to talk about. I had fun doing the lightning. A little wonky in some areas, but I think I did fine enough. I don't know why I gave him hair, because it looks really weird having the hair there, but with no ear. I don't know. Hindsight's 2020, I guess. Yeah, overall, not quite my favorite of the video at all, but yeah, I think it's fine. Also, give him a little O there, a little glowing O. I thought it's had a little flair there, a little fun. Basically, Human Torch, but instead of fire, it's electricity. I thought it was pretty fun. So yeah. And then we have Jefferson Storm, also known as Human Lightning. As Jeff led the way, Rex and Halo jumped in through a window and joined them. Ben was chained up to a wall surrounded by glyphs. Delam was wearing a red hooded cape and gilded armor while operating the control panel of some sort of giant ray gun in the corner.
Dr. Rex Richards, I would say, what a pleasant surprise, but this is neither pleasant nor a surprise. However, I am feeling a deep sense of schadenfreude from the karmic justice cosmic radiation has done to you and Prince Benjamin, especially after what you two have done to me.
One of these days, Delam, you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that what happened to you was self-inflicted.
It is Dr. Delam, but all of you outrageous outsiders will refer to me as Dr. Bedlam.
Bedlam shot himself with a ray gun. He removed his mask to reveal his skin becoming stone as his armor began to power up. He aimed his gauntlet at Rex and blew his head clean off with a laser blast. Distraught, Jeff rushed to Bedlam, grabbing his face and giving him everything he had. Bedlam absorbed all the power and blasted him into Halo. Tatsu revealed herself behind the tyrant and slashed the back of his armor before getting backhanded into a wall. Ben then broke free from his bindings and landed a haymaker in the gash Tatsu left in Bedlam's armor, shattering the entire chest piece. Ben attempted another blow, but Bedlam blocked it before kneeing Ben in the stomach and knocking him outside. Bedlam felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned around to see Rex alive on the other side of the room. Rex shifted his hand into a mace and rammed it into Bedlam's chest. Bedlam fired another laser at Rex, but he turned his chest into a mirror to bounce it back at him. Bedlam tried landing another blow, but Rex turned into smoke and wrapped around him like a boa constrictor. Bedlam then electrocuted Rex, knocking him out. Before he could gloat, he was shot by a freshly repaired Halo. Their eyes shifted from red to orange before blasting them into the wall.
Hands off, brick for brains.
Bedlam charged towards the automaton and collided with a force field. Tatsu appeared in front of Halo with a Soul Taker sword. Bedlam magnetized his gauntlets to pull two sabers off of a wall.
On guard!
He yelled, thrusting a blade at Tatsu's face, nearly missing. Tatsu swung her blade through Bedlam's chest, breaking through the stone outer layer. They continued to clash weapons until Bedlam caught the Soul Taker between his sabers and prepared to jolt electricity through them. This failed as Jeff appeared behind him and began siphoning power from Bedlam's armor. Benjamin then flew up through a hole in the wall.
It is time for clovering,
he exclaimed before geokinetically slamming Bedlam around like a rag doll. Bedlam promptly surrendered. He agreed to let them go and continue honoring the ceasefire as long as they never set foot in Latveria again. Once back in the U.S., Bruce Rogers set the team up with their own building as an apology for everything that happened to him. He introduced Rex to an old friend of his, renowned fashion designer Janera Van Hall, to collaborate on designing matching uniforms that could handle each of their powers. From then on, Mr. Metamorphic, Invisiblade, Human Lightning, Geo Thing, and Halo would form the Outrageous Outsiders. Out of all the segments in this video, this one is the one I had the most fun writing. It was mostly just fight scenes, which is kind of what I like about it. Just, throwing haymakers, having them use their powers in fun, creative ways. Well, at least I thought they were creative anyway. Just having fun. I also thought it'd be fun to have them show off their powers. It's one of the big draws of superheroes, show how Mr. Metamorphic, his powers are like, it's basically Metamorpho, but he like leans more into like the whole stretchy thing. Like Mr. Fantastic, and then Invisiblade, she can use her like force field and invisibility to do like sneak attacks. Also thought it'd be fun to have her sword fight Dr. Bedlam, and then Human Lightning, have him basically use his electricity as like a weapon, but he can also like absorb it. I don't know if Black Lightning can do that in the comics, but because there's like a whole bunch of like knockoffs of them because of like some weird rights issues, which is like a whole other can of worms that I don't have time to get into right now. But yeah, and then Geo Thing, he's a combination of Thing and Geo Force, if you couldn't tell already. Because Geo Force in the comics, his thing is geokinesis. I know in like Young Justice, it's like lava based, which is it's whatever. But I thought it'd be like a fun combination of powers, being made of rocks, and he can like control rocks, which can give him the ability to fly, which I think he might have in the comics. Just I think he has like gravity powers or something. I don't know. I just had it be geokinesis to have it be simple. Super strength, can move rocks. Art-wise, this was almost my favorite of the video, although I noticed that his left hand, this one stage right, not sure what I was doing with the thumb there. But aside from that, I think it's perfect. I basically just put Geoforce's costume on the thing, and then made it Fantastic Four colors, but then, also changed the 4 to an O. Also, I gave him Geoforce's hair, but made it rocks. In universe, I guess my explanation is that the cosmic radiation actually did make him go bald, but he just made himself like a rock wig with his geokinesis. I thought that'd be kind of funny. So yeah. With that, we have Prince Benjamin Markov, also known as Geo Thing. And there we have the Outrageous Outsiders with Mr. Metamorphic, Invisiblade, Human Lightning, and Geo Thing. I'd like to thank all of you for taking your time out of the day to watch my video. It really means a lot to me. And please give me any feedback you have, and just let me know your general thoughts, and, like it and all that stuff. Also, just like all my other videos, if you can guess who any of these characters I didn't draw are supposed to be fusions of, leave them in the comments below. Although I believe it's only like 2 in this video, but still, I'll shout you out. Also, like I said in my last video, my next video is going to be the Masters of Doom Part 2, my fusion of Masters of Evil, Legion of Doom. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I should have that out soonish. I already got all the characters done. So yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. But most importantly, I'd like to wish each and every one of you a happy Thanksgiving. Christmas. Alright, my name is DJ, and this has been Drawing with DJ. Goodbye, and thank you for watching.